Hi, I'm so happy to see you here today. My name is Alexandra Millatmal. Among a few other things, I am an instructor for Girls Who Code. Girls Who Code is a wonderful national organization. We are very lucky that in Omaha, we started up just last year with one club at Abrams Library. And this year we've grown to 3 clubs in Omaha. I think a total of 4 classes serving more and more girls every year. So it's a great organization. I'm happy to answer some questions for you about it. But really this talk is going to assume a few things. It's going to assume that you're already a little bit familiar with Girls Who Code, that you are familiar with some of the problems facing women in tech, and that you want to help. And I'm super excited to see lots of faces that I don't recognize here today. So one quick thing that I want to talk about before I kind of get into it is that I'm speaking kind of for myself and for the Do Space Club. There are different clubs in Omaha, and we all have a little bit different approaches to how we run things. The best thing you can do if you want to get involved is ask us what you can do. And there are lots of wonderful, wonderful people involved who are doing work in our community to get this club off the ground. So these are some of the lovely faces who are involved with it and that you can ask your questions to. So these tips are going to go in order of, I think, preference, like in the order that you should do them. And the very first step that you need to do if you want to help out with something like Girls Who Code is listen to women and listen to the women who are running it. And it seems really basic, but if it didn't need to be up there, I wouldn't have the slide up there. So the very first thing that I think that you should check yourself when you're thinking about helping out with something that's being organized by other folks, especially other folks who are saying that they're facing a problem in the community, is listening to them first and listening to what they need. I will always be an empathetic ear. I will listen to your concerns with it, but I will also tell you the things that our organization needs. So I'm a friendly person that you can ask these questions to. Then, if you feel like you're doing that successfully, recognizing the problem is a huge thing that needs to be overcome before you can help effectively. I think in Omaha, it can be very easy to not see some of the problems facing women in tech because we are such a welcoming community, we are such a compassionate community. But the fact of the matter is, sometimes I'll do like a count when I'm in a room, and I'll do a little count and say, okay, how many people here appear to be feminine presenting, appear to be a woman in this room? And it usually hovers around 30%, which, as we know, is not parity. It's not parity in the room, and we can get more people, in at these events and feeling comfortable and feeling like they're willing to start engaging. I really encourage you to start kind of doing that count for yourself and seeing if the numbers don't really fit to what you expect, trying to ask yourself questions about why someone might not be comfortable in this space or what you can do to make your space more welcoming to other folks. One of the numbers that I really like to highlight when I talk about Girls Who Code, because I find it the most shocking, is the statistic that's highlighted by the national organization. So our national organization is focused on gender parity for girls, and in that they include femme, non-gender conforming, and genderqueer folks as well. And we try to really educate people on the national scale about the lack of representation for women in STEM fields. And this to me is just astounding. According to national polls across the country, 66% of young girls in middle school age range are very excited about computers. They love it. They want to build video games. They want to do augmented reality. They want to know how hoverboards work. These are all things that girls say when they come to Girls Who Code and are expressing their interest in coding. That starts dropping off dramatically in high school to the point where only 4% of college freshmen enrolling in computer science degrees are women. And there's a lot of natural change in what people are interested in, but to me that drop-off is not natural. And I think a lot of the women in the room would agree that there are so many messages telling us not to get involved in tech, telling us that other things are more important. And they can feel really subtle, but over a composite of time, those messages become a mass, influence on you and what you decide to pursue. So it seems like, these interests are not accessible anymore. So this problem is really, really real. Even though you might know people who are very talented developers or technologists in your own life, it doesn't mean that there aren't hardships that they've faced to get there or that they still face continually despite their expertise. Keep girls at the center, I think, is the second thing to think about. If you've recognized the problem, you're listening to the women who are organizing this event, and you want to get involved, that's awesome. We need all the help that we can get. When I talk about gender parity and I talk about reaching 50% of women in a room, the other 50% is men, and right now it's over 50%, so you have to make a little bit of room for us. We need people in power to be effective in our mission. And one of the ways that you need to do that, though, we want you to be involved, but you have to center our mission. And that mission is aimed at girls, and it's aimed at reaching that parity for them and getting them involved and excited. The number one thing that I hear when people are excited about Girls Who Code is I really wish that this existed for boys, or that I had something like this too. And I love that enthusiasm, I really do, but it's probably the number one thing that you shouldn't say when you want to get involved with this. The fact of the matter is that this exists for women because it hasn't existed for women for so long. And keeping the people who are the most affected at the center of it is really important. And so thinking about how to phrase those messages is also really important when you're wanting to get involved and wanting to support us. I think the third step then is to think about what women do you know that you can help connect to the people who are already organizing, getting involved, and working with Girls Who Code. One of the things I was most shocked about when I started at the Abrams branch were that there were folks there that I hadn't seen in the community before. There were women who were coming from the university or who worked at Union Pacific who I would have never met if it wasn't for Girls Who Code. And so I think that the number one thing that we can use from our allies in the community is you lifting up other women that you know. If you have a relative or someone at your workplace who you think is a skilled technologist and has something to offer to Girls Who Code, send those women our way. Again, we really value input from everybody, but having that model for young girls of seeing other women who are in the workplace and who are, making cool games or cool applications or are working with the newest JavaScript library. Those examples are really important for girls to see a successful model out into the field. And so as much as you can, volley other folks our way. And we need you to form those connections and help us do that, because I think a lot of us know that Omaha is a great, small, welcoming and tight-knit community, but it's also very easy to get into your own silo and not get connected to folks out in other companies or other parts of the city. So if you've gone through all those steps and there's still more that you think you can do, I'm sure that there is, one piece of advice that I really have is to be secure in supporting behind the scenes. We've had really great sponsorship from companies this last year, sending us notebooks and supplies that the girls can use when they're brainstorming out ideas. Sponsoring food every week is so huge, and it was amazing. I didn't even realize which company was sponsoring our food until I went into another company for a meeting and recognized the person who brings our fruit trays every week. In no way does supporting behind the scenes lessen your role, your involvement, or your importance in the organization. Something I think a lot about when I think about being secure in that role is another great organization in Omaha called Girls Rock. There is a person who is named John, who I identify just as much as anyone else with Girls Rock, and he is always bringing in equipment, setting up sound, and he's at every Girls Rock event. But he's not really behind a mic. He's not presenting to the girls because, again, his role is different for this organization. So those are like the main tips that I have for getting involved. I think that following that succession and really thinking about the first point of, am I listening to folks? The second point of, am I supporting up the people who this organization is geared toward and who it's for, and then starting to think about taking a more active role. That progression is something that, though it seems simple, I think is really helpful to follow when thinking about how to get involved. Again, Omaha has these clubs starting up. We've just started our first one today, which is really awesome. And Do Space, where I'll be teaching, launches up next week. So it's happening. It's going now, and it's full steam ahead. So if you want to get involved, please come reach out to me. Shauna Dorsey is doing amazing work with kind of integrating organizations in Omaha to get involved and to sponsor. And we are so excited to welcome you in and have you support this really great mission. I just prepared this morning, so I feel like I left out a lot. If you have questions, please ask them now, and I'll be happy to answer them. On Twitter, I'm Halfgun in Nebraska, NE. So you can follow and tweet me there. But otherwise, I'd love to have questions from you all now. Thanks.
That giant drop in percentages, is there any sort of like documentation or studies, like what causes it, mostly like cultural or social aspects that cause that kind of drop?
I mean, talking off the cuff, I'd be kind of hypothesizing here. I'm not sure with the study if they have causation for those numbers or if it's just, recognizing the effect. But I'd be interested to see a show of hands even if girls have been in classes in school, or if the women here have had classes in school where they were told that somehow that it's not their place to do math, or it shouldn't be interesting to them, or maybe they shouldn't be worried about their question. Can I see a show of hands if any woman has had that message?
Anecdotally, I've had a response to that one of the girls from last session, Girls with Code Sarah, one of the high schoolers, spoke at Nebraska JavaScript conference recently, and she said that girls are not allowed to make mistakes. And computer science programming is something that you learn by making mistakes. And so as girls get older, they're expected to be perfect. And so they're afraid to go into technology.
Jay?
Question. So this, we got two questions here. Is this based on like public school versus private school? That's my first question. Is that a difference between that? If you're in an all-girls school, do these numbers, are they the same numbers?
I'd be interested in knowing that as well. I don't have the answer to that, but I think that is a really important question to ask. It reminds me of a different point that I forgot that I wanted to make. That is, I think also as in regards to connecting the women technologists that you know in town to this program, I think that can be very helpful because we are somewhat of a gender segregate group. We are open, nationally the organization is open to boys. It's also open to non-conforming, genderqueer folks as well, gender fluid folks. In Omaha, I think that there's a lot of opportunities for young boys to code, so we chosen to go one direction. But as far as connecting women technologists to the organization, I think it can be really helpful because we are all women, it's a great opportunity to be a woman technologist and be proud of that without being tokenized. I think it's it can become very scary once you start achieving things in your field to also talk about this other thing that you know so well and that you've probably known for a large part of your life about being a woman, because it can be easy to be quickly pigeonholed to being the woman technologist or the woman on the team. And so I think having the opportunity to explore some of those problems in an environment where you don't have to think about being that token woman is really empowering. And that's something I wanted to say about the group in general and sending experienced folks our way. Are there other questions? Sandy?
This may be more commentary, but I'll kind of try to phrase it in the form of a question. Maybe you can help solve this problem. So one thing I find, I'm a founder of Omaha Women, and one thing I found that kind of annoys me when we have allies who reach out to us and want to help, and the reason is because they've had a daughter recently, and they want the world to be different for their daughter. But what about what happened before they were parents and their peers that they work with? Why do we not matter to them before they have a child?
Yeah, I mean, yes. Yeah, I've definitely seen critique of that argument, and that, well, support women because they're people, and empathize with them because you can see yourself in them, and not just because of that relational aspect or that feeling of protection. Definitely. I thought I saw another hand. Naomi? I would love if any of the men in the audience have questions that you'd like to ask now. Yeah?
I'm genuinely curious. I think if you'll be charitable with me, because I think depending on how you phrase the question, it could take it the wrong way. Sometimes when you ask for examples, it sounds like you're saying maybe it doesn't happen, or can you give a specific example? But I'm genuinely curious.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to share it, that's fine. But
Sure.
what do these cultural messages? I think Sandy's example was fantastic. You have no pressure to be perfect, and so that maybe makes you feel like you can't be involved in math and technology. Does anybody else have? I'm just curious what that looks like. What do these cultural messages look like?
Yeah, I have a great example. Yeah, I was just gonna pull that up.
Yeah, they look like Barbies instead of, robot toys.
Girls' Life, Boys' Life covers. These are, so these are current, These are current covers of Girls' Life and Boys' Life magazine in 2016. Right, like, okay, these are all commercial magazines and selling goods. Like, I think that we should make that point. But the messages still are very different. The Boys magazine is selling goods to an aim of future potential, career potential, earning potential, academic achievement, inventiveness. And the Girls magazine is very different, and it's focused on relationships, with other girls, but also, romantic relationships and looks and fashion. I think that is like a very stark and I'm just very surprised that this example wasn't composed, that it is really there still now, so.
If you go to Target and just look at the toy aisles, that's a big one too. Because even if you look at the gendered Lego sets, they're very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
Lego friends?
Or the number of Lego friends, right? The number of sets for Lego friends versus the number of sets for boys.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you feel tokenized at that point. There's 6, maybe a dozen now, right?
Yeah, it was Lady Ada Ministries. There was this really great kind of tech lab, woman-focused tech lab, kind of based on some of the stuff she was doing that Lego put out as a limited set. There was so much demand, and then Lego had zero interest in continuing the set, and it was kind of tragic and sad because, she's a
Yeah, something I really love about Girls Who Code is that, you know, we work on a project as part of the curriculum, and so there are so many ways for girls to contribute to that, whether it's writing documentation, or, you know, producing the content of whatever website it is, or it's, you know, making the algorithm that makes the game run on the homepage, or getting the tabs just right on the site. And so I think through that project, and also having a variety of women to look up to and to hear from in the community, they can start getting those messages younger and younger and younger, that there's so many ways to get involved, and it's not just this one model of being involved in technology or programming. I completely agree. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for bearing with my slides that were very serious and yelling at you. I sometimes get a little yelly about this stuff. But I would love to talk to any of you who are interested, especially about sponsorship, but any way that you'd like to get involved. We are so excited to work with you and to continue to grow in Omaha. So thank you for coming.